Today's message is odd. Okay, this may not even make no sense, but what I'm getting with these two cards that came out is that spiritual enlightenment came out in reverse and self-doubt, which is you allowing your inner critic to make you doubt your path or your potential. But for that to come out in reverse, it's like you're not in the space of having self-doubt. But spiritual enlightenment is in reverse. I feel like this is someone choosing a certain path. So, I feel like this is someone choosing a certain path. What I'm really feeling like, this is someone giving up on their spiritual journey and bringing it to a completion and choosing to just do their own thing and have a fresh start in other ways. I feel like this is still like having that space of expressing self and creativity, embracing that. But when it comes to like the spiritual aspect of things, which everything is spiritual, right? But actually being on the journey, that is something that I feel is being abandoned. But let's see if that's what it is. Let's get into these messages. Damn. This was something that was thought about. It's this feeling like a choice had to be made? Because what I'm feeling is like I'm starting to feel sad and almost like I want to cry. Because I feel like this is someone feeling like they have to choose. Because when it comes to you really taking your spiritual journey serious, I ain't gonna even lie, it comes with a lot of twists and turns and shit. Sometimes, well, all the time. You just don't know how things will play out. And it's like you having to trust that you are making the right decisions and that you're on the right path. But that could have led to a lot of things being lost and feeling like it's time to recover those things and it's time to rebuild. And the only way that you know how to do that is by doing things the way that you used to and feeling like that's the only way that you will be able to overcome the obstacles that you've been going through. And this is the reason why this spiritual enlightenment is in reverse. So this is like keeping yourself stuck to what you know is necessary for you to overcome. Even if this is you being in toxic situations, whether this is like a toxic workplace, which is the only way that you know how to make your money, toxic ways of doing things in order to get by, toxic, like whatever these toxic situations are. You know deep down that this is foundations that you've outgrown. But within you being in these toxic, that is tongue-tying me up like a motherfucker. But you know that with you being in these toxic situations, it may not be toxic at all times, but it is some toxicity here. But you know that this is the way that you can overcome. This is the way that you can recover in some type of way and rebuild. This is something that has been thought about for some time, I feel, on whether you should really embrace the change that your spiritual journey takes you on. Like I said, because it's not all it's not all positive vibes and uplifting. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit be coming in out the blue at times. But it's like whether to embrace this change or fight it. And I feel like someone is making the decision to fight it. Because everyone don't choose to go on this spiritual journey, even though they are called to do so. So it's like being stuck at a standstill on whether you should ignore that calling. And I think this came out in one of the readings. Because this is a resisting the inevitable. Because I feel like you can choose this, but eventually you're going to get right back put to where you're supposed to be at. Because this message is for someone that you really are meant to be on this journey. And I say this because, like, my spiritual awakening happened in 2019, but in 2020, that's when you saw a lot of just metaphysical, spiritual things on the internet. A lot. And a lot of people got into it, but everyone isn't meant to do it. This message is for someone that is meant to be doing this. So even though this is something that you are choosing to walk away from and abandon, this is something that you're going to become right back to. This is something to become right back to. What the hell? This is something that you're going to come right back to, because this is something that you're meant to do. It's like you're trying to resist the inevitable. You're here to do a job, and I don't know exactly what that job is, but it's like what has you in this contemplation is because you're tired of going through what you're going through. You feel like on this journey, it's just prolonged suffering. It's so many obstacles. It's so many things that you feel like it's not going in the way that you would like for it to go. That's because you're kind of stuck in a place of internal versus external. It's things I feel like you have to get through internally to shift the reality of your life. And once you get through those things internally, the external is going to be looking like how you want it to look. But see, by you choosing to deal with the external, which is you just recovering and rebuilding things that you lost, yeah, you're going to get that. But on a soul level, you still not going to be satisfied, because it's things internal that you need to work on. So it's like, even though those things that you get, those things that you're going to recover from a loss or losses that you have took, it's going to put you in a place of not having self-doubt. See, being on this journey, it's times where you may have self-doubt on whether are you making the right decision. Is this something that you really should be doing? Should you continue on when things ain't looking right and when it ain't making sense and when you just don't see where this is headed? That is what have you in self-doubt, being on a spiritual journey. And that's why it's very important for you to embrace the change. But it's difficult for you to do that when it seems like all is what's happening is you being stuck, things not progressing. And because of that, it just makes you feel like you're just prolonging your own suffering, when you know that you can step out and you can do things the way that you used to do it to get things done, to overcome all of this. And in fact, that's something that you can do and that you might do. And you'll go on with your life like all of what took place before happened. And you would get that confidence back. But it's only because of the external things that you have. Because deep down, you will still be feeling something within you internal. You still gonna get that nudge from the universe to take action towards making the necessary changes in your personal life to go through a transformation. Because it's like you're wanting this freedom, but in order for you to get this freedom, first you have to go within yourself and work on the internal. See, this freedom has nothing to do with materialistic things. It has nothing to do with a car, a place, or anything else that you're trying to recover and rebuild. It has nothing to do with that. This newfound freedom is going to come from within yourself first. Because once you have what you need within, even the things that you have without on the external, it's not going to matter. Because you're satisfied. You're content. That is what is needing to happen. So like the joy that you would get out of having rebuild from all the things that you have lost, you're going to have that emotion of intense happiness, of course. And just a sense of feeling delighted and just well-being because you feel like something has finally come to an end. But you're going to get back in that place of feeling like you're unsure. Because I feel like you're going to have divine guidance. And you're going to have the realization of what your potential is. So whatever it is that you're doing or will be doing to recover the things that you have lost, you're going to get tired of doing that because that's not something that is meant for you to be doing. Though it's something that can help you rebuild. It's something that can help you recover all the things that you have lost. And that's about it. And that's when you go right back in that place of just being truthful. Being truthful, realizing that you're resisting the necessary change and the necessary, what's the word I'm looking for? Work. Damn. The necessary work that needs to be put in. And I feel like at some point things are going to come to a balance. Because at some point you're going to be looking at things differently in a truthful way. And I'm going to tell you, I've been here many times. And that's why I can say that no matter how many times you may feel like you're going to do something else, if this is something that you're meant to do, you're going to be put right back in position to do it. Because things just not going to work out in the way that you would want it to. And it's happening because of things becoming balanced. Even when it feels like it may not be making sense, or it just seems like why would that be when you are actually doing the necessary things in order to have all of what you need to survive in life? But if that's something that you're not meant to be doing, then that's something that is not going to last long. Let me see why this is here. I kind of feel like this reading goes with the reading I did like maybe 3 or 4 days ago. Because I just got this feeling like this is about like someone getting a job, and this job is something that can land you back on your feet. But eventually something is going to happen within this job or just within yourself. That goes back to that same reading, I feel, where I said like your soul won't even allow you to stay where you're not meant to be at. No matter how good a job may seem, how much it's actually helping you to survive in life, if it's not something that you're meant to be doing, your soul is not going to allow you to be there. But let's see why this card here. Okay. Yeah, this is like what I was saying, how this is indeed that. This is you being able to manifest abundance and fresh beginnings. And the stability that you've been wanting from a job. And this is something that is going to bring you so much harmony in your life because of all the things that you have been through. You're going to feel a sense of success because you are going to have that. And it's going to put you right back in the place of just feeling like you can finally breathe with no more worries. And like I said before, like acting as if though all of the things that you've been through up until this point no longer even existed, or I should say never happened. But with this feeling cheated coming out, that goes back to what I was saying as far as your soul will not allow you to be somewhere that you're not meant to be. You're going to get that nudge from the universe to, it's time to make some life changes. This is what you're going to be feeling. It's time for you to have that personal transformation. Because see, this may be something that where you have to constantly work in order just to pay your bills, in order to have the ability to survive. You're going to feel like you accomplished getting on your feet. But at some point, this ain't going to be something that you want, even though you thought at one point you did. You're going to start feeling cheated. I really do feel like this goes back to that reading I did like 3 or 4 days ago, because feeling cheated came out and it had something to do with a job. And what ended up coming out in that reading is that eventually, because I did see on the bottom of the deck, legal disputes was out. Legal disputes was on the bottom of the deck. I just didn't say it because I felt like it had nothing to do with this reading. But the more I get into this reading, I feel like this reading is connected to the reading that I did like 3 or 4 days ago. It's just speaking about what is taking place before all of what came out in that reading. I can't even remember which reading it is, but if you want to go back a few readings and watch it, you can, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Because this is just speaking about how someone is choosing to walk away, no longer wanting to be on this spiritual journey and choosing to do things the traditional way. I feel like this is someone that chose, like strictly chose to be on this spiritual journey. And what I mean by that is you have people that is on a spiritual journey, but they're in between. You hear what I'm saying? Like myself. Like, I still work a job. You know, I still do traditional shit, even though, like, I wouldn't want to, but I have to in order to survive. But then you have those who take that leap of faith and be like, I'm just going all in. And with doing so, it's like, I know what all I've been through. I know what all I've been through just from being in between both. You know what I'm saying? But so just to imagine just strictly just being in it is like, damn, because you do go through a lot being on this journey, and it's to strip you from everything so you can work on yourself, so you can work on the internal, because it ain't about the external things, but eventually you will get to that point, because at one point I didn't care about anything external, but I'm slowly getting back to the point of like wanting certain things and liking certain things, and because I did the inner work, and I'm not done all the way, you know what I'm saying, but I feel like that's where this is at. This is the need to do the inner work, no matter how much you have, as long as you're not putting in the work internally, you're never gonna be satisfied. And yeah, you're never going to be satisfied. The joy that you get over feeling success around something is only going to be temporarily. It's going to come to a point where you're going to have to trust your life path and pursue your passions in order to maintain a positive balance. That's like I was saying about how things are going to come back into balance, because you're going to get to a place to where how you felt before, like indecisive about which direction you should take, you're going to feel like this again. But the crazy thing about it is that you would have rebuilt yourself. You would have gained all the things that you lost. But you still going to have that sense of not being whole, not being complete. And that's just the divine guidance from the universe that is waking you up to realize your highest potential. Because your potential isn't just at putting in work for someone else. Your highest potential is your creativity. And for you to believe in your natural talents within your creativity. And that's something that you're going to wake up to realize. And that's why things going to, again, become balanced. But see, this time, and my eyes getting watery, because what I was about to say, what I was thinking about, I wasn't going to say, but my eyes got watery. See, the universe will let you do what you want to do. Excuse me. The universe will let you do what you want to do. Right? And I feel like this is that. I feel like this is the universe letting you do what you want to do. But this is going to put you back in position. See, because you're going to gain the things that you lost. And you may find yourself doing exactly what I'm doing, where you in between, until you can actually fully let go of the things that you're used to doing in order to survive in the world. That's what I'm feeling. In order for you to survive in the world, until you reach that point of where you can have the straight up independency to where you don't need to work a job. You don't need to do things in a traditional way. But I just feel like the universe lets you have this fresh start for yourself. And then that shit gonna catch up to you to where you're gonna feel like not necessarily stuck, but you're gonna feel like whatever it is that you're doing to make money, you're going to get tired of it because it's not something that you're meant to be doing. And I didn't have that happen to me. I didn't have jobs where I knew, like, I'm being told not to get this job. Like, I'm being told, don't get that job. I'm being told, don't get them work shoes because you ain't gonna need it. And sure enough, I didn't take the guidance because I was doing what I knew to survive in the world. And it ended up every time exactly like what the hell I was being told not to do. But I did it anyways, just out of what I felt like I needed to do to survive. And I feel like this is that message. Oh, snap. I do. What did I say with this card coming out? What did it say? It says urging you to let go of material attachments and find harmony. Other ways that you can have success. Because this is for someone that attach success with material things. That's why you don't have, and I was saying this in the beginning, that's why you don't have that self-doubt anymore. See, when you was walking your path, it was a lot of self-doubt because of things that you didn't have, things that you lost. When you, my eyes get watery again, because when you go through that period of losing, the losing season, what it is doing is building your character up. Like, also, not only building your character, like, it's a time for you to go within, like I keep saying, and work on things internally so that you don't have attachments to the material things, so that you don't feel like success to you means what you have in a material, because it doesn't. And as I said before, like, the universe is going to allow you to get back all that of what you lost. And it's going to have you feeling like you ain't even go through anything of what you've been through. So what lesson did you learn out of that? You learned nothing. Because you're going to still act as if, though, you're so successful. You haven't been through anything. It's like a humbling experience in a way. And for me, like, I'm not a boastful person. I'm not a materialistic person or anything. But even all the shit that I lost, it was a humbling experience for me. Because it made me realize that none of that shit even matters. And that's the point. None of it matters. What matters is what's in. You know, the saying, it's in me, it's not on me. And that means that no matter what you don't have, it's within you. It's not on you. It's so many people that got so much shit on them. I don't care how much it costs. They still ain't shit. Because it ain't in them. This is a point to where you need to be working on what's in you and let go of the attachment to material things. The harmony that you are seeking, it starts from within. Because I said this in the beginning. When you are working on yourself internally, you ain't going to care about the external. Because the feeling of harmony from within is not going to be temporary. Like that joy that you get from having things. Because eventually things get old and you're going to want something else. You're going to want an upgraded version. But how can you want that same thing within? See, when you go within, it's different. Because you're going to have, I say, it's like you're going to have that same kind of feeling of wanting more, but you're going to want more for yourself in a healthy way, to where you're going to keep showing up for yourself. You're going to want to keep working on yourself. And that's with boundaries. That's with self-love. That's with, why do you respond the way you respond? Why do you show up in the way? Like, it's deep. And it's for you to go deep within yourself. That's why all this is happening. There's a need for that balance. The balance that I was talking about is this: the balance of your spiritual and your material life. That's what you're going to feel cheated about, because it's not going to be a balance. You're going to be more into the material life, material attachments, because you're abandoning your spiritual. And there's a need for you to trust that that same stability that you are wanting and that you will have, if you do choose to, go your own way, do things your way, you can have that same stability by pursuing your passions. You just have to maintain a positive balance. This is what I was talking about as far as in, like, being in between. Like, I still work a job. It's things that I still do that I was doing before my spiritual journey. Because we have to do that to survive. You know what I'm saying? There needs to be a balance. Just because you're on a spiritual journey don't mean that you have to quit your job. It doesn't mean that you have to just put yourself all the way out there and because now, hell, you setting yourself up to go through the most difficult fucking spiritual journey that it is, in my opinion. Because being in between is so much. I actually did both. I didn't quit, and it was just so much. It was just like, damn. But then I felt like I'm doing this for a reason. But then I got to feeling like, nah, I need to go back to what I'm used to doing, so that I can overcome the things that I was going through. And that's what I did. And you know what? Honestly, each job I had, it didn't work out because I was abandoning my spiritual path. But now I'm in a place to where I'm showing up, doing the spiritual work, as well as in still doing traditional things. That is how you balance that out. Because I used to feel like I had to pick one or the other. I couldn't do both. But there's a need for you to have that balance in your spiritual life and your material life. So then you're going to get to a point to, like I was saying, how at one point I didn't care about shit. I didn't care about nothing. Like, I was just my soul was just crying out to me. I was so fed up. And the funny thing about it is, I wasn't even going through shit for real. The funny thing about it is, I wasn't even going through anything for real. That was just on a soul level. Like, I still had, you see, I'm in a room right now. But I still, now I feel more harmony than I felt when I had a fucking house, a car, and everything was how it's supposed to be. My soul was crying out. Because no matter all the shit I had inside, it just wasn't enough for my soul. That's what this reading is talking about. And I felt cheated very much. I felt like I was selling myself short, showing up to a job that I knew that I couldn't fucking stand. And it wasn't even a job within itself. It was just the damn people that work at the job. Because I really liked my job, but the people that worked there, it was a toxic place. That goes back to what I was saying about how you may find yourself in a toxic job. It may not be toxic all the time, but it's like finding yourself in some type of toxicity at times. But feeling like, it's necessary for you to put up with in order for you to just survive in the world. But there's a need for you to know that the same stability that you are wanting, you can get that if you pursue your passions. There's a need for you to have balance. And once you have that balance, it's going to be different. It's going to feel different because you're not choosing to abandon your path, and you're also not choosing to just go ahead, step out on a leap of faith and risk it all either. You can be in a position to where you are comfortable enough to make that necessary transformation in your personal life. And slowly but surely you will find that newfound freedom. But you have to really believe in your natural talents and the creativity, because the divine guidance is going to be there for you. Some of y'all are meant to be expressing yourself with your talents. So I don't know if this is like speaking or singing, dance. It don't have to be that. It can be anything creative. You're meant to be expressing yourself. Instead of wondering how, I feel like it's times where you just wonder, or you may daydream or something about how things would or could be if you really pursued your passions, if you really expressed yourself with your talents and your creativity. It's time to stop thinking and really to start to take action on pursuing that. Little by little. It don't have to be something drastic, like a drastic change or anything, but little by little. And you will find yourself feeling surprised by how it makes you feel. So instead of having this curiosity about it, start working towards it, even in the smallest ways. What you are like you think that you're abandoning your spiritual journey, but what it is that you're really abandoning is the emotional healing that needs to take place within yourself. See, you're focused on these positive life changes that you want to have because of feeling like you've been at a standstill for so long, or feeling like you've been stuck. And I feel like it's because it's like you wanted to have this personal freedom and things just going the way that it should be going. But the emotional healing needs to take place in order for things to resolve in your favor when it comes to you being on your spiritual path. Things are going to resolve in your favor as far as you choosing to do things in the way that you know how to do, of course. But when it comes to your spiritual path, you have to put that work in for things to resolve in your favor. And it starts, like I keep saying, within, with emotional healing. Opposing forces came out in the reverse. This is something that is not trying to work against you. And it feels like that because, like I said, on this journey, you lose a lot. It may not happen for everybody, but I know it happened for me. And it does happen for a lot of other people too, because why that happened is because of resisting. Had I done things in the way that I was told to do them, I wouldn't have lost so much. But because I was doing things that I felt and knew, like I gotta do it like this, it come a time in your spiritual journey where the old ways of doing things is no longer. And you have to really embrace and trust that even though you don't even see how things can work out in your favor, just take the guidance. Because this is not something that is going to work against you. It's working for you. And that's why eventually you're going to have that nudge all over again that's going to direct you back into being on your spiritual path. Abundance, prosperity karma and financial success. Came out in reverse. That's like I was saying, how you will go from having joy, emotion of intense and happiness around just getting back what you lost. But at some point, none of that is going to matter. Now, I don't know if this is losing a job for this to come out in reverse. I don't know if this is speaking about like losing a job, or I don't know. I kind of feel like this is speaking about someone like losing a job, losing their abundance, losing that sense of prosperity that you once had, and that success, yeah, and that financial success that you once had. Something coming to an end. I feel like this is a job loss that will end up happening. Remember how I was saying how I like to include myself in some of these readings if I can relate, just because it actually be adding to the reading. How I was saying how I had a few jobs that just didn't work out, and that was for a reason. Like I say, like the universe will let you do whatever you want to do, but only for so long. So it's like at the jobs that I had, I was able to get the things that I needed to get, do the things that I needed to do. And then at some point, it was just like, oop, I lost it. And when I lost that job, what I ended up doing? I ended up going back on my spiritual path. Because I felt like that's what it was nudging me to do. This is what I feel like this is. Because what's on the bottom of this card is the joy that you felt about getting all the things back that you've lost. But eventually, it's going to be some type of financial loss. And I feel like this is a job loss that caused an ending. And there's a need for you to trust that your life path and the passion that you have can create that same stability that job gave you. Yeah. Because this would be like you being back in that stuck place of still trying to do things your way. Not taking the divine guidance, not taking the initiative. When there's a need for you to take the initiative. Not paying attention to what your intuition is telling you. Because I feel like there's a sense of, like, intuitively you know. Like with me, like I could do something and then I hear a fucking message in my head. And instead of me taking that, I do the complete opposite because I'm doing and moving and operating out of how I used to, what I know would work. But you're not paying attention to the wisdom that you are being given. Because it's like you're resistant to go on this second half of your life. And that second half is you establishing a personal as well as a spiritual worldview that is different from how you used to do things. So you keep on trying to do things the way that you know that, oh, if I do it this way, this will work out. Let me see why this card is right here. You're resisting to have that second half within your life. And unfortunately, everybody don't have a second half of their life, but you were chose to have one, and you're resisting it. There's a need for you to trust your gut. You need to trust your gut when it comes to the harmony that you're wanting to have. You want to have so much harmony within your life, but you're only viewing this sense of harmony in one way. You feel like the only way that you can have harmony within your life is if you do things the way that you used to do it, because that's the only way that you know how. There's a need for you to have some type of patience around this whole situation. Yeah, you're needing to let go. You're needing to let go of the idea of the only way that you can accomplish what you're wanting as far as in harmony is by doing things one way, is by doing things the old way of how you used to do it. There's a need for you to have a transition within your life in order for this renewal to happen. The stability and the balance that you want is right here for you. It's right here for you, and know that you do have divine protection over your life as well. So it's major life changes, positive ones at that, that are going to align you with your divine purpose. And not only is that going to align you to your divine purpose, that's also going to lead you to the financial abundance. You remember how I was talking about how there needs to be a balance with the spiritual and material? You'll end up being in a place of having material prosperity too. So like the period of loss is not, it's not meant for you to not enjoy the material aspect of things. Like eventually you will get there, but you need to have patience and know that what needs to be worked on is your emotional healing, your inner self. You need to be working on. And as you do all of that, you're going to reach a place to where not only will you have the financial abundance, it's damn near like a lock is on this for you. And it's almost like as you do the work, like you start getting little rewards is what I'm getting. Because this impending financial abundance, material prosperity, and this is around your creative success. So it's like as you do the work, you're going to be slowly rewarded for it. It's like that lock is going to come off completely, and then you're really going to have that financial abundance. But there's a need for you to release the stress and just trust that if you put in the hard work to build a stable foundation for your future, it's going to pan out. You're wanting to take the easy way out because you know that that is what will get you what you're wanting. And by you keeping on this spiritual path, it'll have you stressing, wondering, unsure, more than you just going back to what you know. Know that this journey is also about you having new beginnings. And to go on this journey, if you do choose to stay on this journey with a childlike mind, which is like innocence, and not trying to make sense of everything, but just let things unravel in a way that it should. And I do feel like, what did I just say? As I looked at this legal disputes, I said this in this reading, how I said legal disputes was at the bottom of the deck, but I didn't say anything. Legal disputes is out here. This has to do with that reading I did 3 or 4 days ago about legal disputes at a job or something. And I feel like this is what this is, where these legal disputes will lead you to a new beginning. This is something that will resolve in your favor. Yeah. With ignoring the calling and self-doubt. See, you didn't have the self-doubt when you was doing what you knew to do to survive in the world. But when it comes to this calling that is over your life, it has you in so much self-doubt. And that's the reason why you ignore the call. Because you don't want to make the necessary changes. You don't want to make the necessary changes that is meant for you to make. But know that this is not something that's working against you. It's working for you. And it's like you're ignoring the emotional healing that needs to take place as well. But I feel like deep down, you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So trust that. Trust that within your gut. And know that that is where that harmony is going to come from. It's from you stop ignoring the call.